James, you can call us R. Croc because we are franchising like a motherfucker this episode. It is all franchises all the time over here.
R. Croc. I'm not familiar with that reference.
That is the guy who made McDonald's a chain.
Oh, no, I did know this. I've watched Michael Keaton movies. Come on, James.
All right, well, I'm going to hit you with 3 to 4 sick Birdman references throughout this episode, and I'll see if you catch them.
I know I brought a lot of trailers to this episode that are franchise heavy, Kevin. There's 2 trailers for 2 movies that are both coming out on Christmas Day. One of those movies is a mind-bending, vividly stunning, action-packed thrill ride about a man trying to make sense of their world, asking the question, what is reality? And then the other one of those movies is the Matrix sequel. So,
fucking got him.
of course, the first one that I was talking about is Spider-Man No Way Home.
And then the other one is the Matrix.
And the other one is the Matrix. Yes, that was the joke.
I'm catching up on the bit. Good.
And then Kevin, I mean, like you said, franchises. We also have a new No Time to Die trailer. We've been talking about this flippin' movie since pre-COVID days.
All right, sounds good. To round it off, because we have James Bond, we have Spider-Man, we have The Matrix, and so to round it out, our next franchise is Rich Women Who Seem Sad with Spencer. We are continuing the franchise that was set up with Jackie, so that cinematic universe is going to continue. And I'm really excited to see what other rich women who are sad will come with the cinematic universe. But it's just getting off the ground, much like this episode, which now that we're getting off the ground, let's get that theme song in there.
You can't haul your stuff without a trailer hitch. Trailer hitch.
Grab a seat, pour yourselves a whiskey neat. It's time to judge the shit out of these future releases by the movie trailers. We're trailer hits. This movie might totally suck, but the whiskey sure is going down fine. Yeah, we're trailer hits.
All right, James, be honest. Are you super excited for all of these franchises, even after getting as many installments in these franchises that we've had so far?
Not to tip my hand here, but yes, I'm very excited for all these franchises. And then there's Spencer. No, that's mean.
Man, if you're still excited for these, I wish I could take your eyeballs out and put them in my skull and see these franchises through your eyes.
That sounds pretty intense.
Well, James, that's because it's a reference to Birdman, which is another Michael Keaton movie. Get your shit together.
Can you do more like Batman references?
I told you I'd be dropping Birdman references, and I could only remember that one very awkward Edward Norton line. We'll see what I can pull up as we keep going. Hi, welcome to Trailer Hitch. I'm Kevin.
Hi, welcome to Trail Hitch, and I'm hoping Kevin has run out of Birdman quotes, so this can die.
Oh, you are not expecting the virtue of ignorance on my part that this bit isn't funny. This is Trailer Hitch, where we rate and review movie trailers. We rate them on a scale of need to see more, never need to see. If James and I both give a trailer a need to see rating, we celebrate. Then we go see the movie, report back to you guys in a segment called Trailer in the Review, in which we talk about the trailer in retrospect and then review the film writ large. And yes, indeed, this is a very franchise-heavy episode. We are hitting all the quadrants. We got our Marvel, we got our Warner Brothers, which if there's anything Space Jam: A New Legacy taught me, it's Warner Brothers wants to be a franchise and not like particularly an intellectual property. No, all of Warner Brothers wants to be a franchise. Okay, if you insist. And then indeed we have James Bond, the long-running spy series, and then yes, we do have another addition into the sad rich woman cinematic universe with Spencer. So James, let's get into it. How about we get on to No Time to Die right off the gate, just because we've talked about this quite a bit.
Yeah, I think it deserves a little bit of a tune-up, if we will, maybe.
Let's get into No Time to Die, my man. All right, so we've talked about so many of these trailers, and I remember that first one really not tripping our trigger at all. And they subsequently got better and better. And now we're at a point, this last trailer has come out, and it's really interesting because this feels like what I think the first trailer should have been, just in that it spends the first, I'd say, fifth to a quarter of it just recapping the Daniel Craig series so far.
Yeah.
And then after that, we start to get into our story for No Time to Die. But what I found interesting about it is those other trailers really did seem to want to play up the female double O agent that is going to be in the new like this, who will be a new addition to this film. And this one is like, you're probably just here for Bond and the villain. So we're just going to push that to the forefront. And we know from watching the other trailers that female double O agent is going to factor a pretty big deal within this. And it's not like she's not present within the trailer. She's still in the cockpit. We still have the, I'm using air quotes here, joke for the, do you know how to fly one of these? No. Hold for massive applause. I have that in my notes. We still have that, but yeah, it's one of those things where I did feel like that character really got put on the back burner, and it did just thrust Daniel Craig's Bond and really drumming up the fact that this will be the conclusion to his run as James Bond into the forefront for this trailer. How about you? Any similar impressions, different impressions? What were you thinking?
I think very similar. So like as excited as I am for this new character, they are a new character, right? So it
Yeah.
felt kind of weird for those earlier trailers to be just focusing so heavily on that instead of just going in on the Bond recognition. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And to let a new character like that really come to their own in the context of the film is always going to be better than just snippets you're giving me in a trailer anyway, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So just give us Bond because we all know Bond, right? We're all familiar with Bond in the trailers. Like get me hyped to see Bond, and we all know it's going to be his last Bond movie. So get me hyped to see his, swan song for the Bond franchise, and then in the context of the movie, as a cherry on top, we get to really start to love all these new characters too. Do it that way. Don't be selling me in the trailers on, don't you like these new characters that you've never met yet?
Yeah, I know, really. And bear in mind, there are other franchise side characters who we could focus on, be it M or Q, or there's probably some other single letters in there. Was Moneypenny in this run of Bond
Yeah,
movies?
Moneypenny's
Okay.
introduction was Skyfall, and it was like a twist that it was Moneypenny until the end, and then
Good
she was
memory.
in Spectre as well, as like unofficially like a desk job. Then I think.
I gotcha. Okay, cool. So yeah, it's we have all those other characters, and yeah, you're right. It was really interesting that they were, and I'm sure they're playing off of the movie, and I'm sure this new double O agent will factor in heavily. But I completely agree with you. It's one of those things where if you want to just give me the barest of setups for that character and let me know, hey, there's going to be this new double O agent in town, but the amount of time they were giving a character who wasn't Bond in a Bond trailer was definitely something that wasn't really hitting for me with that first trailer. And now it's at the point where I am looking at it and saying, okay, well, yeah, now we're focusing on Bond, and you're really playing up the fact that this will be the last movie. But the issues that I had within those first set of trailers, which is, hey, how are you topping your franchise? How are you kind of continuing that arc? What is making this the big epic conclusion? in comparison to the stuff that we see, frankly, in the first 20 to 30 seconds of this trailer. We saw James Bond, jump through a torn roof of a train in one of these movies. We saw him hold his breath for a real long time in one of them. Wait, no, fuck, that was a Mission Impossible. I'm sorry.
No,
but I guess
no,
that does.
He holds his breath in Casino Royale to try and save Vespa at the bottom
Oh,
of the
okay.
water.
Oh, that was okay. Yeah, but there is also a breath holding thing with Mission Impossible, right?
You are correct. That's correct.
Okay, yeah, all right, yeah. There's sorry, there are a lot of these movies floating around right now, and
Simpsons did it. Simpsons
basically,
did.
but I think the point that I'm trying to get at is, hey, there are a lot of these movies floating around right now, and it's challenging to do something that I think makes it stand apart. But this is kind of what we were talking about with that very first trailer, is types of movies like these where they're action, they're not, I wouldn't go so far as to say it's pure realism, but they are going for a grittier edge, and there is, to a degree, some amount of realism within those stunts. That's something that we've seen a lot within the past 10 years, and I know I brought this up with that first trailer, and with this one too, I haven't really seen anything that's gotten me specifically hyped,
Mm-hmm.
Because, like Mission Impossible Fallout, just in contrast sake, Tom Cruise fell out of a fucking plane and was deploying another dude's parachute who was passed out. That's a really tall order to try and top.
Right.
But even if you want to like hit something on that level or on that plane, I'm not quite seeing it here yet. And it's kind of interesting. I'm noticing some more gadgets and more gadgety stuff with this one in this trailer in comparison to those earlier Bonds. I think before it was like you maybe got one watch that told you the time and also maybe shot floss, and that was it. There were no other real gadgets. It was more or less just Bond and his wits, and in the first one, a chair with no seat. Those were the gadgets that were in play. And yeah, now we do have a car with miniguns in it, and we do have that super secret jet that the Double O agent hasn't flown. Hold for applause. And yeah, it's one of those things where, okay, maybe that's where we're going with this. But I do think I would want to see those, I think, a little bit more in play in order to make me go, yeah, that was slick as shit. Because otherwise, right now, it's like, yeah, it's fine, but like it doesn't really inspire me to go out and see this opening weekend.
Yeah, I am intrigued, but I don't know if I'm like back on. I'm like, oh my god, let's go to the theater right now to see the next Bond movie.
Yeah, totally. And I think a huge part of it is this trailer in particular is just nostalgia of the trailer.
Yeah.
And I definitely think that's what this is going for. Like people who are super into James Bond. And bear in mind, as someone who played a lot of GoldenEye on the Nintendo 64, yeah, I smiled a bit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, is that enough to get me there opening weekend? As of now, I'm still very much at a need to see more with this.
Yeah, I think I'm need to see more as well at the moment. But yeah, we'll see. We shall see.
I know that does sound pretty harsh. It makes it sound like I'm saying there's no way I would see No Time to Die in a theater, which is also really inconvenient because there's also No Way Home with Spider-Man No Way Home.
That's right, folks. Spider-Man is in fact Peter Parker.
When Mysterio revealed my identity, my entire life got screwed up. I was wondering if maybe you could make it so that he never did.
The entire world is about to forget that Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
Wait, everyone? Can't some people still know?
Stop tampering with the spell.
Oh my god, Ned, he's my best friend. Oh, my Aunt May should really know.
Stop talking!
What just happened?
Be careful what you wish for, Parker. Hello, Peter.
Bring me trailers of Spider-Man No Way Home. This is directed by John Watts. This is written by Chris McKenna and Eric Summers. This is starring Tom Holland, Zendaya, Marissa Tomei, Benedict Cumberbatch, Jon Favreau, J.K. Simmons, Willem Dafoe, and I don't know if he made any sort of splash on the internet, but hey, guess what? Alfred Molina's in this. A random shout out, because we here at Trailer Hitch like to give random shout outs to cast and crew members, because the top billed people tend to hog all the credit. So we would like to shout out Angie Dean Morrison, who was a location scout. Hey, Angie, thanks so much for finding those locations, man. Let's get into it, man. James, go ahead. Give us the spiel. What is going on in Spider-Man No Way Home?
Well, to understand what's going on in No Way Home, you have to know what went on in Spider-Man Far From Home, which is the last Tom Holland, Marvel, Sony Spider-Man movie. Okay? And that movie ends with Mysterio, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, dying basically at his own hands, but he himself puts out a video that makes it look like Peter Parker, Spider-Man, killed the hero Mysterio. And now he's also outing Peter Parker as Spider-Man. So that's how we end that last movie. It's kind of a pretty big bombshell cliffhanger.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, though.
Yeah.
Isn't the connection between, because yes, you're right. He does release the video that makes it look like Spider-Man killed Mysterio. But if I remember correctly, isn't the link between Peter Parker and Spider-Man established and in the post-credit scene of Far From Home? I'm pretty sure it was like that thing with J.K. Simmons on the billboards in Times Square being like, by the way, guess who Spider-Man is? It's Peter Parker.
Yes and no. So it's a mid-credit scene, so it's not like you had to sit
Okay.
until all the way to the end.
I'm slapping my wrist. Yeah, so I think that is a pretty big bombshell to drop in a mid-credit scene. And so, in essence, the trailer does kind of have to do some heavy lifting for those people who maybe saw the director card at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home and were like, I've had to pee for the last hour and 15 minutes. And they got up and ran out of the theater. This trailer does have to do the heavy lifting for those people where they went, wait, I don't remember Spider-Man being outed as Peter Parker. When the fuck did that happen? Okay, the trailer's got to bring those people in. And so, yeah, much like the No Time to Die trailer, it does have to kind of catch its audience up. But I do think it does so effectively.
I think so too. It is weird that they made that, bombshell the mid-credit scene in Far From Home. It seems like a thing that would fit pretty, nicely as just the end of your movie,
Yeah, well, it is. I think more for Peter Parker's character happens in that mid-credit scene than like the vast majority of that movie. Because like the movie was just him accepting the fact that Tony Stark was gone and he kind of has to figure his own way through.
Yeah.
Which, like, okay, fair enough, but like that's just getting him back to like this sort of baseline of self-confidence that he was like already starting to have at the end of the first movie. And then the mid-credit scene was this big fuck you moment of, oh, now this just completely shattered everything.
Yeah. Now he's on the look for another Tony Stark mentor figure in Dr. Stephen Strange.
Yeah, exactly. It basically, the entire second movie was him just figuring out how to do all of this on his own. And then this third movie, it's, gonna find another mid-40s dude to just latch onto and try and see if they can help me out.
But yeah, okay, so that's basically our setup for this. He goes to Doctor Strange and says, dude, make it so the world doesn't know I'm Spider-Man. And Doctor Strange is like, I can definitely do that. It's actually super easy, barely an inconvenience. Not to steal a funny line from a YouTube channel that you may or may not have heard of, but
definitely did. Go on.
And that is how the chaos begins to unfold in this trailer, is when Peter keeps derailing Doctor Strange in his doing the spell, and things go haywire, I would say.
Yeah, it sure seems that way. You can tell when like the audio drops out and the visuals get trippy that whatever's happening on the other end of this probably ain't great. And it's not. The multiverse is open, which usually leads to fun stuff. That usually leads to Spider-Pig, but not in this movie. No. We aren't bringing in fun stuff like a Japanese girl with a mech. We are bringing in Doc Ock. And here's the weird thing. Like, everyone lost their shit for Doc Ock, which I understand. Like, he was like one of the last things that you see in the trailer, and so people got really excited about it. But at the same time, you gotta figure Willem Dafoe's kind of bummed, right? Like, he's definitely in the movie. You see the Green Goblin bomb drop, you hear the Willem Dafoe chuckle, you know he's gonna be in it. And pretty much no one is talking about Willem Dafoe right now. And I'm like, oh, poor guy.
Kevin, it's all about the memes. And what Doc Ock has on Green Goblin is he actually showed his face in this trailer. So
But there was no chuckle.
Thus, a million memes were born, because you could literally take a screen grab. No one wants to screen grab the Green Goblin's bomb rolling on the road. It's not as interesting as de-aged Dr. Otto Octavius.
Okay, you're right. The meme potential is far greater with Doc Ock, but I'm just saying.
You're preaching to the choir, I'm telling you. So I know people say it's known that Spider-Man 2 is like the better Spider-Man movie, but the first Spider-Man movie is my favorite. It came at a very influential time of my movie watching career in 2002, and Willem Dafoe will forever be like one of my all-time favorite Spider-Man villains. So when I saw that bomb and heard the laugh, I was losing it.
Well, and I think they did. They picked the Prime 2 to come back, because otherwise, I don't know, who would you get back? I guess
Topher
Jimmy.
Grace.
No, I definitely think that's interesting. Now, I'll be curious, because what are we going to do with these two villains, and how are they going to interact with this version of Peter Parker? And, obviously they're probably still going to want to murder. That's obviously like the baseline to it. But I am kind of curious, because what I give this run, like these runs of Spider-Man movies from the past like 20 years, so be it the Tobey Maguire, the Andrew Garfield, and the Tom Holland ones, what I give them credit for is they are pretty different takes on the character. Tobey Maguire is more of a dick. Andrew Garfield is like just kind of bummed, and they were going for like the grisly, it's post Dark Knight kind of superhero take on it. And then we have the Tom Holland one, who I would argue feels the most like an awkward high school kid. And it'll be interesting to see how those two villains, if the dynamic changes at all with the Tom Holland version. But yeah, I think it does obviously open the door, or should I say open the universe, to a lot of different potentials. Now, give me your God's honest, man. How are you feeling on this? Are you like ready to kick down the door and drop a circular bomb just to like get a prime seat in the house, or is there anything holding you back right now?
No. I mean, for basically the quantum leap of the Marvel universe, I'm saying, oh boy, let's do it. I'm excited. That was my Scott Bakula impression, by the way. Oh boy.
Was he in Birdman? Were you dropping a sick Michael Keaton reference on me that I didn't recognize?
No. It's like,
okay.
Did you ever watch Quantum Leap as a kid?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Oh, so it was a show where he was jumping into different parts of time and space.
Fuck, that's where you were going with that.
Yeah,
okay.
So in every leap, he hopes is the leap home to get back to his life.
Mm-hmm.
And so Spider-Man No Way Home, I was like, oh, basically they're doing Quantum Leap, but Spider-Man.
I got you. Well,
so maybe he's like jumping into different dimensions, and he's like trying to find the way back to his dimension. You know what I mean? So yeah. Scott Bakula, oh boy, Quantum Leap. That's how I got there. That's my train of thought for you.
No, I really love that. That joke's got me jumping for joy. Like I was Hayden Christensen. I actually didn't see Jumper. Do they just jump around like around the world, or is it just like, is there a time component to that? I don't remember.
Do not get me started on the lore for Jumper, okay? Have the time, Kevin.
Okay, well then we'll cap it off at like, yeah. What are you feeling? Final thoughts on this?
Yeah,
trailer?
No, I'm really excited for this. I think this has been just an incredible Fourier,
Foray.
Thank you. It's like
Mhm.
I'm gonna give up on this, and then you came in with the assist.
I was like, maybe he'll get there. Maybe he'll get there. All right, I should give him a hand.
Yeah, slam dunk. So I've just been really, really impressed with this take on Peter Parker, with this take on Spider-Man. I think that this director has had a pretty consistent vision. That's been really exciting too.
Mhm.
So no, man, I'm really excited to see how this goes and to see what craziness is in store beyond what we saw in this trailer, because there's going to be way more.
Well, I guess we're assuming there's way more because way more is not in the trailer, right? Or do you know something that I don't?
Well, no, I would assume they wouldn't put all the fun surprises in this one trailer.
Yeah, no, you're correct. Marvel's definitely good about that, but yeah, for me, dude, this is a need to see more. I'm definitely interested in this so far, but if I recall correctly, and I'm pushing my glasses up as I say this, the thing that made Spider-Man 3, the Tobey Maguire one, a little bit hard for me was, oh, there's a fuckload of villains right now, and I'm not really feeling all that connected with stuff. And this one is, well, there's a fuckload of villains, but you remember them. And okay, that helps. It definitely helps. But I don't know if that necessarily smooths that problem out very much, especially because it sounds like the story seems to be rooted in a self v self sort of thing, where it's Peter trying to reconcile with the fact that his identity is out there and his identity could potentially harm the people who are close to him and who he loves. And that's why he wants to erase memories. But then he's like, oh, wait, shit, but there are definitely some people who I still want to know this. And instead of just, oh, I don't know, telling them again, he inadvertently fucks the spell up. And that's what opens up these multiverses. And so, given the root of that story, to then be like, oh, by the way, hey kids, remember it's Doc Ock and Green Goblin. It's like, yeah, that's cool, but I'll be curious to see how that ends up crossing with the conflict that we have set up so far with the rest of this trailer.
Yeah. I liked the punchy punchies and stuff. So this is a need to see it for me.
Self v self, more like fist v fist. Am I right? All right, cool. All right, dude. Well, listen, we are getting far away from home. Specifically, we are getting in England with Spencer.
They know everything. They don't.
We're going to get a load of Spencer's Gifts with Spencer. This is directed by Pablo Larraín, written by Stephen Knight. This is starring Kristen Stewart, Timothy Spall, Jack Farthing, Sean Harris. Our random shout out is going to go to Peter Lee, who plays the church organist. Hey, Peter, not only do you have to act, you know how to play an instrument too. You deserve that IMDb credit. Play us in, Peter, because this is Spencer. Yes, this is about Princess Diana. The jokes that we were making at the beginning about how this was a part of the Sad Rich Lady cinematic universe is because the director of this also directed a movie called Jackie, which was about Jackie O. Kennedy after I think the movie is like right after JFK gets assassinated, and it's her kind of picking up the pieces and kind of trying to establish her identity after her husband's death. And that definitely had a very particular flavor, a very particular style. And James and I both saw that one, and I remembered liking it. Do you remember liking it?
I did.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I just saw recently.
Fucking same, man.
I just saw recently an article about the late John Hurt's. Like, one of his best performances was this one scene in Jackie, and I'm like, was John Hurt in Jackie?
I do not remember that to save my life. Yeah.
I guess he played like a priest who was just consoling Jackie. And I was like, I read this
Yeah.
article and I'm like, I have no memory of that.
I think that was like there was some scene in a park with Jackie and the
Yeah, it was
priest are
outside.
walking.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, good. Well, wait, fuck, we're talking about Jackie.
We're
We should be talking about
talking-
Spencer. But the idea that we're trying to get off of is Jackie had that very particular sense of style and tone, and Spencer definitely seems to carry that same sense of style and tone. It is definitely an atmospheric trailer through and through. A lot of it is insert shots, very close shots. You don't really get clean images of Diana's face until about halfway through the trailer, and then like you only really get one line of dialogue at the very end. We have a choir singing a song. It is not a Nirvana cover, so points for that. It's that's what's carrying us through this trailer in these images. And what I give the style credit for is it does look very 90s. So everything kind of has that sort of bleached outlook. Because apparently, back in the 90s, if you wanted separation with your colors, you were in for a rough go of it. Like everything kind of bled together in that time period. And I do think that the cinematography does really capture that color palette. It captures that style. I do think there are really evocative images. I know it's the poster and it's kind of the big thing, but Princess Diana in that massive ass white dress is a very striking image, and it
Mhm.
is memorable. So I give the trailer a lot of props for creating that sense of style. But then the question becomes, does this just kind of feel like Jackie, but again? And I obviously, because it's an atmospheric trailer, there isn't really a ton to go off of yet to see how or if this will be different in its style. I wouldn't necessarily say doing the same style twice is inherently a bad thing, but one, just because it's a different character, you would have to assume that it would be sort of different in nature. And also, two, as you heard at the beginning, even though James and I both like Jackie, we're having a very difficult time remembering Jackie. Maybe that is a sign that we could do something to switch up that style or that narrative play. But okay, James, what are
Mhm.
you thinking with Spencer so far?
Well, I mean, I was going into this with knowing, geez, very little about Princess Diana and the whole drama that surrounded her celebrity. And so I'm very ignorant when it comes to that. So I think if you grew up or were, an adult during that time and you were like living and breathing all like the tabloidy stuff from England at the time, maybe this atmospheric trailer was enough to just like take you back there and just like make you really go, "Oh my god, I can't wait to see this." But for me, I'm just like, "Oh yeah, it's Kristen Stewart kind of looking like Princess Diana, and I clearly is going to be dramatic, but I'm not entirely sure of what to take from it. I think it's a good trailer. It's a good atmospheric trailer. It's just with atmospheric trailers, you bring your own experiences into them, I think, right?
Mm.
It's a lot of just interpretation on the viewers. And maybe that is why you and I, Kevin, just kind of are reminded a lot of Jackie with that, because that's our previous experience with whatever this looks like,
Yeah, definitely. Well, and also, I can understand that there is alienation to come with an immense amount of fame and to a degree, immense amount of wealth, too. There is a sense of isolation in that. And something that I was noticing throughout these images was the fact that usually when we see Diana, she is alone. And the only line that we get in the trailer is Princess Diana saying, "No, you don't know everything about me." And so that does seem to give the implication that this will be a little deeper than just your standard. And the tabloids really, really liked her, and that's part of what caused her death. Like
hmm
it seems like it's going to run a little deeper than that, which I appreciate. But that said, even with that sense of isolation, Yeah, but at the same time, you still got fucking lobster, man. Like, that looks delicious. So it does kind of undercut that for me, and I guess I would like to. I think in order for that to work, and bear in mind, this is purely my interpretation of these very impressionistic images that we have. But if that's the direction that this goes, if they are kind of looking at the paparazzi and the wealth and fame angle as isolation, I would say then something to consider is, yeah, but like when you have all of that wealth and that power too, like I just kind of need to, you can make that argument and I will run with you on it, but I do need to see that dramatized, because otherwise if you're just giving me images, I'm gonna go, God damn, I haven't had lobster in years. Like, that is too rich for my blood. So yeah, it's I agree, dude. Like, I think that this is a strong atmospheric trailer, but there is a little something missing here. And I, like you, also have very little foreground knowledge in Princess Diana. So that's also kind of clouding me. I am coming into this relatively fresh. And right now, from the outside, it's, well, I certainly wish the best for her, and I also wish she would share some of her lobster with me. Need to see more.
I'm actually gonna knock it down even further for myself. This is a never need to see it for me.
Ooh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, like I said, it's a well done atmospheric trailer. I didn't get anything out of it though, and I think with an atmospheric trailer, you want to be intriguing, mysterious, even, and have the viewer asking questions in their head. And after this, the only question I had was, was Spencer her last name? Or like, that's the only question I had. So
I have no fucking
yeah.
idea what Spencer refers to
Like,
either.
why is it called that instead of Diana? I don't know. But yeah, so yeah, it just wasn't really resonating with me. Like, I could see myself forgetting this trailer exists like 2 weeks from now.
Okay, legit. I'll hold you to that. I'll add a reminder in my phone, and I also need to look up more Birdman quotes. So that ends up working like crackerjack. But listen, we're going to stop following Diana in her white dress and instead follow a white rabbit, because we got one more trailer to talk about, and that is Matrix Resurrections.
Hi.
Have we met? If you want the truth, Neo, you're going to have to follow me.
The only thing that matters to you is still here. I know it's why you're still fighting and why you will never give up.
You don't know me.
No?
After all these years, to be going back to where it all started. Back to the Matrix.
One pill makes you larger. The other reboots your franchise. This is The Matrix Resurrections. This is directed by Lana Wachowski, co-written by her, David Mitchell, and Alexander Hemmon. This is starring Keanu Reeves, Carrie-Anne Moss, Yahya Abdul Mateen II. I am so sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. I thought you were awesome on Watchmen. Christina Ricci. Our random shout out is going to go to Tristan Hume, who is the unit manager for the COVID-19 unit. If you take the red pill, you could take the blue pill, but either way, you gotta shove a swab up someone's nose. Thanks for doing that, Tristan. You kept people safe.
Oh, what funny times we live in.
Anyway, this is The Matrix Resurrections. James is our resident Warner Brothers expert.
Oh,
I don't know
wow.
why I'm putting that on you.
That's a heavy franchise.
I think this is your go of it. Tell us what's
all right.
happening in The Matrix Resurrections.
Oh, well, you guys, we open with a therapy session. Neil Patrick Harris is talking to a man named Thomas, and Thomas has been having some dreams, and he thinks he's going a little bit mad as a hatter, you might say. I'm going to be trying to make more Alice in Wonderland references, but that might be it. Let's be honest.
I'm still trying to figure out Birdman references, so yes, please figure out Alice in Wonderland references.
So he is questioning his reality. What is real and what is not? And then we start to see between the lines and we start to see the code of the Matrix. So mentally you're just like, oh shit, I know this. This is the Matrix. Even if you haven't seen the Matrix movies, it's just one of those visuals that is resonant in pop culture.
I'd agree, yeah.
So he's meeting Trinity, except it's not Trinity and he's not Neo, and they have a weird sense of deja vu with not the Black Cat one, but just like the actual deja vu, where they're like, do we know each other? So there's a connection there, which leads us to a very younger looking Morpheus. And he offers Thomas Anderson the chance to go down the rabbit hole. And as he's done in a previous life, he does so again, and he chooses to fly.
Which is good for him. I would have chosen to eat both pills and just see what happened.
You just become the caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland.
I was trying to be the Cheshire Cat, damn it.
So after he takes the red pill, he begins his journey, and we begin our montage of just like really intense, awesome action and visually stunning stuff. And let's just take a second to call out how visually stunning this trailer is. It's just the colors are so vivid. When you go back and think about the Matrix,
I was about to say, yeah,
your brain doesn't really go right to colorful, you know?
Well, it is colorful. It's just the color green. And if you wanted something other than the color green, yeah, it's a frightfully bad time for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. There is a much deeper command in color. I noticed that Neil Patrick Harris's glasses are blue in the beginning of the trailer, which, implying that therapy is just a way to anesthetize herself isn't like not the greatest implication, but fuck it, it's the Matrix. I won't think about it too hard.
Yeah.
But, like that, at the very least, that idea of those colors playing a bigger role, I can see that here. And
yeah.
I definitely give Lana Wachowski a lot of props for that.
Yeah, lots of reds and oranges too, a lot of warm colors, which was just very surprising in a Matrix movie. That, just set itself apart, and we really hit the ground running or flying with this trailer. But yeah, and then it kind of culminates to some pretty awesome looking like fight stuff in the rain. And then another just conversation with the king himself, Jonathan Groff, who tells Keanu Reeves and the audience, guess what? You're back in the Matrix. Wink.
Pew, pew, pew.
Pew, 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 pew. Yeah, that's it. That's the Matrix Resurrections.
So, all right, like just in brief, we usually do this for the first time a franchise comes up within our podcast. What is your connection to the Matrix? Have you seen all of them? Were you super into them? Where are you with those?
Yeah, that was another influential part of my movie watching career at that age that I was that they came out. The Matrix and Office Space were the first two DVDs I ever bought. I bought them at the exact same time, and I watched them over and over. Like, this was like, hey, VHSs aren't a thing anymore. I'm going to go buy myself a DVD. And
Nice.
I just watched those two movies on repeats, like over and over again. And when The Matrix Reloaded came out, I was not old enough to go see a rated R movie in the movie theater yet. So I asked my sister to take me, but my mom had to like write a note saying it was okay for my sister to take me or something like that. It was very weird, but I was just so ridiculously excited. It was my first rated R movie in the movie theater, and it's this franchise that I loved, and I loved Reloaded in the movie theater. It just like blew my mind. Revolutions came out. It didn't blow my mind, but I still enjoyed it. I think I'm one of the few who enjoyed the whole trilogy. But yeah, at that point, I was starting to kind of diminishing returns. I think is that the phrase, right?
That sure is, yes.
Yeah, and like it definitely spends a lot of time with these people in mech suits just firing machine guns at the
Oh
ceiling.
yeah, and the third one, yeah, 100% it does.
And that probably could have been shorter. But anyway, this trilogy holds a place near and dear to my heart, and this is one that's been long in the making, and I'm here for it, man. I am very, very excited for this.
Nice, dude.
What is your relationship to the Matrix?
I have seen all three of them.
There it is.
And now bear in mind, that's not to say that I didn't like them, but like I've seen the first one and I remember the first one having a pretty big impact on me. I more so remember my brother losing his shit over the Matrix.
Okay.
And so it's like I did also see Revelations and what's Reloaded. Sorry, I mixed those up. It's Reloaded then Revelations.
Reloaded and Revolutions.
Revolutions, thank you.
Yeah,
I guess this resurrection thing threw me off with Revelations. Also, there's a bunch of Christ imagery in that last movie, so I think that gives me some wiggle room. Anyway, yeah, and so it's one of those things where it's like I remember seeing all three of them. I remember really liking the first one. I remember enjoying the second one. I don't really remember the specifics to it all that well. I know there's a dude with a bunch of screens behind him that Neo talks to at the end of the movie, and I remember that guy says ergo a lot. And then the third one, yes, I remember the mechs shooting the ceiling, and then I remember the cross shooting out of Neo. Beyond that, I don't really remember all that much from 2 and 3.
Okay.
So I did see the Animatrix, and it's one of those things where, yeah, I would say that I liked it. I definitely don't have as deep of a connection. And again, I've forgotten a solid amount of this stuff, so it's one of those things where I am kind of coming into Matrix 4 kind of feeling fresh. So it's going to sound contradictory that I'm about to say this, but I think my biggest criticism with this so far is I think the story direction of just having Neo, aka Thomas Anderson, just be back in the Matrix and basically having to relearn who he is, what the Matrix is, all of that stuff. I think from a pace perspective, that's probably going to take a while. I think the magic of that first movie was you have to bear in mind for people who maybe are too young to remember, but the Matrix did create a lot of those tropes. So like a lot of those tropes about there being like, these like mysteries of follow the white rabbit. And then like there's this whole other world that, only you can see and only a special group of people can see. The main character was a hacker, so nerds just ate that shit up so hard. It's one of those things where the Matrix did create a lot of those tropes, but it's one of those things where is someone saying follow the white rabbit, Neo, to Keanu Reeves in 2021 going to be nearly as interesting as it was back in 1999? And right now, inherently for me, the answer is no, not really, because he's going to get that message and be like, oh, what does that mean? And I'm going to be like, fucking late trying to show you the Matrix, man. Just fucking, like, we wouldn't be watching this shit if you didn't take the red pill. Like, just pop that fucking red pill and let's go. But like at the very least, this trailer is spending a ton of time just reacclimating us to that world. Now, bear in mind, if this was just a through and through reboot, like this is more or less just Matrix 1 again, I wouldn't really blame it all that much. But this is a quasi sequel. It is a lot of those visions that you mentioned at the beginning of the trailer are clips from the first 3 movies. Like those are the flashbacks that he's experiencing. And obviously Carrie-Anne Moss is there. So we know that this is a continuation of those movies for right now. Or that's what we have to go off of. And so kind of treating it as both, where it's a sequel and it's a reboot. Like we do have to watch Neo retrain with Morpheus. Like they're back in a dojo again. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like I feel like from a pace perspective that's inherently going to bump me. Now in terms of the action that's in place, I mean, yeah, a lot of that looked rad, like a lot of that definitely had a lot of that flair and that pizzazz. It's one of those things where if there's anything that doesn't hold up with the 1999 Matrix, honestly, most of the special effects I feel hold up pretty well. But, like, the bullet time effect has been parodied to death, where I think if you just see it straight faced now, it probably isn't going to have the same effect for you.
Right.
But okay, so they do kind of change that up. Like the bullet time effects aren't quite the same as they were in the 99 version, which they shouldn't be, and I'm glad that they made those tweaks. But yeah, I do think that a lot of the action is there. I will say it does make me wonder if the original intent for the Matrix action was, oh, we wanted that shit to look like an anime, but the technology just wasn't there yet. And now they're just like, we can finally make this look like an anime, so now we're doing it. Or if that was just the pivot they took, because they were like, well, if we do like the big, air trails behind the bullets, everyone's just going to giggle in the theater because fucking Scary Movie made fun of it twice. So we got to do something different here. But yeah, it's overall, I think that this is an interesting start, but I'm not quite there yet, personally.
Okay, that's fair. I liked the punchy punchies. So
Okay.
this is a need to see it for me.
All right. And having enjoyed the punchy punchies, but hoping for just like a little bit more story or something with character. And granted, we know these characters, but like I'm not really seeing why Neo is coming back or how he can, because once a cross shoots out of you, that kind of feels like that's the end of your rope. But I also haven't seen those 3 movies in a very long time. Maybe the implication was he could be reborn.
I don't think so. I think you're right. It ends pretty definitively. Like, no, he dies in that 3rd movie. And so that's what makes this so interesting, is, to me anyway, is that it's like, this might not even like be the same guy, It could just be something else entirely, and that excites me, because the mystery of that, of who is Neo really in this.
Yeah, and I think that is an interesting question. I think if the trailer made that the focus of it, I think that would have been an interesting route to go. But just in terms of, here's a guy who now he takes a red pill and now he's got to relearn kung fu and kind of relearn the Matrix. But now don't worry, he's going to be doing the shooty shooties and the punchy punchies. I like those punchy punchies and those shooty shooties, but the stuff leading up to that, I'm a little skeptical on. So it's a need to see more out of me.
All right, fair enough.
All right, dude. Well, hey, what did you think of The Matrix Resurrections? What did you think of Spencer? Are we forgetting any other movies in the sad rich lady cinematic universe? Do you have suggestions for who else could be in the sad rich lady cinematic universe? Whatever your thoughts may be, we want to hear them. Please feel free to write to us at trailerhitchmailbox@gmail.com. Otherwise, post on our Facebook. Just search Trailer Hitch on Facebook. You can find us there right on our wall. Send us a message, whatever it may be. If you want to keep that missive short, say 280 characters short, you can shoot us a tweet at Trailer Hitch Pod. Or if you want to send a picture to us, Trailer Hitch Podcast on Instagram. Otherwise, you can comment on the very YouTube video you're watching. And hey, speaking of YouTube, while you're here, like, rate, subscribe, do all the things that help us find more listeners. Also, be sure to do that with our various podcasters of choice, whether that be your Apple Podcasts or your Stitchers or your... I think we're on another one. Spotify. We are on Spotify. Spotify's fairly new. I'm still kind of like getting the grasp of just shouting that out at the end. Yeah, be sure to rate, subscribe, do all of those things. We would sincerely appreciate it. Before we go, we would like to thank Danny Schmitz from Lost in a Name for the amazing intro that you hear at the top of every episode. We would like to thank Jenny Hawks, our bad movie and social media correspondent, for her sterling work week in and week out. And we would also like to thank Rachel Ashley for the amazing cover art that you see on those various social medias. You can find her work at Mighty Creations on Instagram. And, of course, we would like to thank Casey Clowers for the amazing outro, which you will hear momentarily. Okay, I have an intro. Nice and snappy and short. Keep your raw time not insane.
Okay, cool. Hang on.
There we go. One. Oh, damn it!
I'm sorry. It was a yawn.
You had to hit the end of that yawn. I understand.
It's a long one.